How verbs came to be. The English language is a vast and complex system of communication. It is full of intricacies that both fascinate and perplex learners and linguists alike. Among these complexities, the use of verbs stands out as particularly intriguing. Verbs, the cornerstone of English grammar, are the action words that breathe life into sentences. However, their usage is not as straightforward as one might expect, as there are both regular and irregular verbs. Regular verbs in English are the more predictable of the two categories. They follow a simple pattern where the past tense is formed by adding a suffix, typically ed, to the base form. For example, the past tense of walk is walked, and the past tense of jump is jumped. This regularity provides a sense of uniformity and ease in language acquisition. It also helps non-native speakers to learn the language, as the consistency in the formation of past tense verbs reduces the amount of memorization required. Additionally, in automated language processing in fields such as machine learning and artificial intelligence, algorithms can more easily parse and understand text. The regular structure of these verbs not only simplifies grammatical rules, but also enhances linguistic accessibility and technological applications in language processing. Irregular verbs, on the other hand, do not follow this pattern. Their past tense forms are often unique and must be memorized, as they do not adhere to a single rule. For instance, the past tense of go is went, and the past tense of sing is sang. These irregular forms have evolved from the language's ancient roots. The evolution of these irregular verbs can be understood by delving into the history of the English language. English, a Germanic language, evolved from Proto-Germanic, which in turn descended from Proto-Indo-European, or PIE. PIE was a language spoken thousands of years ago across Europe and parts of Asia. In PIE, verbs changed their meaning and tense through a process known as ablaut, where vowel sounds were altered. This process can be seen in irregular verbs such as sing, sang, sung. As English evolved from Proto-Germanic, new verbs were added that did not fit these old patterns. Thus, a new system emerged, signifying the past tense by adding sounds like to or do to the end of verbs. Initially, these new regular verbs were the exception. However, over time, as English continued to grow and evolve, more and more verbs adopted this regular formation. Interestingly, how often a verb is used influences its likelihood of remaining irregular. Studies have shown that the most commonly used verbs tend to stay irregular, while those used less frequently are more likely to become regular. This phenomenon aligns with the linguistic principle known as Zipf's law, named for Gregory Kingsley Zipf. This law observes that in any language, a few words are used very frequently, while most are used rarely. In this case of irregular verbs, almost all of them are common, with very few being rare. This pattern of verb usage and evolution can be likened to a form of natural selection in language. Just as biological traits may be selected for or against based on their usefulness, words and their forms may undergo a similar process. Verbs that are used more frequently are selected to remain irregular due to their familiarity and ease of recall. Those less frequently used tend to shift towards regularity, as they do not have the advantage of frequent usage to reinforce their irregular form. The survival of these irregular verbs can be predicted with remarkable accuracy. Researchers have estimated that less commonly used irregular verbs, such as stink, have a higher probability of becoming regular over the next few centuries. Conversely, more commonly used verbs, such as drink, are likely to remain irregular for a longer period. This linguistic evolution is ongoing. For example, the verb dive has two past tense forms, dived and dove. The latter is an example of an irregular form that is becoming more common, illustrating the dynamic nature of language. Similarly, wed is an irregular verb that is likely to become regular in the near future, transitioning from wed to wedded in its past tense form. The study of verbs in the English language encapsulates the complex and evolving nature of linguistic structures. The distinction between regular and irregular verbs reflects a deep historical context, revealing the layers of language development over centuries. The patterns observed in verb usage and their evolution underscore the dynamic relationship between language and its speakers. This ongoing transformation highlights not just the adaptability of language, but also the way it mirrors changes in human society and communication. Understanding these linguistic shifts offers more than just grammatical insights. It reveals the fluidity and resilience of language as a vital tool for human expression and connection.